Hello guys, welcome to this video. Today we'll be looking at the Sparks LRR. The Sparks LRR is one of my favorite guns due to its hard-hitting nature and solid style of play. I personally always enjoyed it and I hope you will do it too after watching this video. Anyway, more on it in a second. Let's roll the clips.
That is on the first floor. Okay, the burst here is behind the crate here, I think. Because like, the muzzle flash is very... Oh, he's peeking through a little shithole, that dumb fuck.
I'm not gonna take shit. Brother. Okay.
You know, fuck around and find out pretty much.
Well, if I kill people as well, you also get shit.
Yes, but the problem is I usually die.
Yeah, as long as you're not burned out though. Oh, come the fuck on, up top.
I've
Dead.
noticed.
Let's begin with the basic Sparks LRR. Basic Sparks LRR excels mostly due to its high damage per shot, being 149, which is insane. Single shot ammo capacity, which is a bit low, but Fast Fingers improves that. Decent muzzle velocity. And of course, lastly, the compatibility with the Fast Fingers trait, which allows you to hold bullets on the ready to increase the reload speed of single shot rifles. This makes the Sparks a pretty lethal weapon if used correctly, and it also makes sure that the Spark stays competitive, even if it is more of a skill cannon than other weapons. But how do you play the thing? Firstly, the most important part with the Sparks is aim your shots well. You do get a good velocity, you do get good damage. The only thing that needs to be better is the aim. You should focus on body shots because body shots allow you to inflict high damage. Headshots are good and all, but the problem is if you don't hit them, you do no damage. The Spark's high damage, up to 40 meters, is 149, leaving your enemy with 1 HP. Make use of that resource you're given. It allows you to instantly take enemies out of a fight after a full heal. Enemies that are missing any sort of HP, be it burned or hit, will immediately bite the dust if you hit them. The Sparks is an insanely powerful tool in the hands of a good player, and you simply just need to know what to do. And it's, in my opinion, a gun that doesn't profit as much from getting headshots, even if they do instantly take the enemy out of the fight, due to the fact that if you miss, you have to reload. While it is quicker with Fast Fingers, it's still cumbersome. You're not a Berthier, you're not a Lebel, you're not any form of repeating rifle. So how do you play the Sparks? The Sparks is usually best played conservatively, meaning you aim your shots well and pick your targets with care. That guy that you can barely hit, barely see a pixel of, don't shoot him. The guy running across the prairie trying to attack your teammate with a shotgun and is actually dangerous, get that mother trucker. Literally. Your job is to make sure that any enemy that decides to wander into your sights regrets being born the second you hit him. Your Sparks can do that, especially in combination with custom ammos. And that's kind of the job of the Sparks. Basically, an enemy shows up with 150 HP and he leaves the next second with 1 HP, if even. That's the job of the Sparks. Utility denial. You instantly gobble up a large vitality shot or a medkit with one pull of the trigger. You are very, very strong. And that's the playstyle of the Sparks. Support, priority targeting, and absolute health denial. Like, you're not allowing the enemy that you hit to regenerate any form of health / stay in the fight with any form of health. Anyway, let's get to the custom ammo types. The custom ammo types for all Sparks weapons are pretty much the same, with the exception that one should not be used on the normal variants and only on the silencer variants, but we'll get to that in a second. The first custom ammo you have access to is FMJ, or Full Metal Jacket. This ammo type increases the penetration of your bullet and lowers the muzzle velocity as well as drop range, while extending your maximum damage out to 60 meters. This allows you to effectively hit hard for a decent range even longer. The problem is that it lowers your muzzle velocity quite substantially, so I wouldn't use it on the base Sparks, but more on that later. The ammo is great if you need to penetrate metal sheets, which normally cannot be penned by long ammo, or at least not reliably, and overall makes wall bangs more reliable and doable. Another great benefit of using FMJ is the fact that the punch through that wall is higher, but with the update to Scorched Earth or 1896, wall bangs have become pretty unreliable unless you hit the head. Anyway, let's move on to the next ammo type. The next ammo type on the list is Incendiary. Incendiary ammo works by igniting the enemy in a single shot up to the damage drop-off distance, in this case 40 meters. Silencers have reduced damage drop-off range, around 10 meters less, but we'll get to that in a second. This means that you have the ability to either ignite the enemy and force them out of combat because they're in threat of losing a health bar, or charring them, and if they're not careful and they walk out on you again, not having the HP to withstand your next spark shot, no matter if they quote-unquote fully heal. People like to use Incendiary on the sparks, but I usually don't, and that's for the reason of using the next ammo. And the next ammo on the list is Poison Ammo. Poison Ammo has the benefit of poisoning your enemy for 10 to 15 seconds, preventing any and all heal unless they banish a boss, have the Rampage trait, or when an event is going on, have the full health restoration kit. This means that the enemy, especially in closer ranges, stays at that 1 HP for pretty long, allowing you to follow it up with something like a hive bomb, explosive weapon, or just a push. This is a very, very powerful tool, and poison will always be applied and cannot be cancelled unless they use Mithridatist, which is a trait, or they wait for the poison to wear off / have an antidote going / use one. This means that poison has the ability to, even if needed at range, keep the enemy at a lower health. Meaning that, let's just say at medium range, you keep an enemy at 75 health, making them easy pickings for your teammates, even if they are using, for example, a handgun. The next and final ammo type would be subsonic, but we'll get to that with the weapons that use them. I personally only run a combination of poison on the first slot and of course normal ammo on the second slot. The reason I run this combination is quite simple. I have the advantage of using poison ammo to suppress the enemy's health regeneration, which in a meta of using the regeneration shot or vitality shot is pretty important, and I also get the ability to keep them low by doing that, even at a range. So for example, let's just say I don't have a chance on a good shot, but I only get a body tap at medium distance. Then I'm still guaranteed to get those 75 HP and keep the enemy there so they can't as quickly re-engage as if I was using normal ammo or incendiary ammo. While yes, incendiary ammo also burns health, its health denial only works when the enemy fully loses a bar or is in close enough range to be instantly ignited. Anyway, I also take normal ammo for the wallbang ability. Why not take FMJ? Because when I get a headshot through a wooden wall, it doesn't matter. And for the occasional fence post / metal sheet that I can't pen with normal long ammo, which can already pen most things, I probably wouldn't use FMJ due to the fact that it slows down my muzzle velocity so much, which on a gun used for sniping or precision shooting isn't exactly what I would want. To finish off on the basic sparks, your job is to take out enemy health as soon as the fight begins, take well-placed shots, and make sure the enemy can't crouch up on your team. You do this with the help of your high damage. Your ammo types should usually be a slot of a status effect ammo, for example poison or incendiary, and a second slot of a ammo with wall penetration, ideally normal ammo. Normal sparks is the best variant for that, although it's very distinguishable, so enemies may push you if you are not careful with your play and or don't have fast fingers or a backup weapon like a pocket shotgun or similar weapons to keep enemies at bay. Now let's move on to the Spark Silencer. The Spark Silencer does 133 damage, has a lower muzzle velocity of only 453 meters a second at base, and comes with the same amount of ammo as the basic Sparks. As you notice, this gun has lower damage than the basic Sparks, which does change its playstyle a bit. You are now much more focused on the double tap, either with the Sparks itself, or the secondary you bring. But in essence, your role hasn't changed. The only thing that has really changed is that lower damage, which does take some pressure ability off you, but at the same time also allows you to be much more stealthy and makes the enemy not able to identify you as quickly. The spark's distinctive sound is usually the Achilles heel of the person using it. Anyway, let's look at the facts here. The spark silencer is mostly played just like the normal sparks. The only change that I would immediately take is first of all swapping out the slot of normal ammo I recommend on the basic sparks for a slot of full metal jacket. You may ask why not use subsonic ammo, and the reason for that is quite simple. Subsonic ammo lowers your muzzle velocity even further for increased stealth, which, while sounding appealing, has a drawback. Extra stealth does not give you extra damage range, extra stealth does not give you extra wall pen, and extra stealth overall, I don't know. The issue that I personally have with using extra stealth is the fact that most of the times I play in teams to make the game more enjoyable, and there my extra stealth usually doesn't come into play. Plus, potatoing a shot within closer ranges, which is what I usually fight at, does pretty much guarantee the fact that the enemy will hear the impact of your bullet and know that somebody's there. So while I don't personally recommend extra stealth, you can feel free to go with the extra stealth from subsonic ammo. Let's look at the gameplay though. I personally always finish off people with my strong secondary, ideally something like a shotgun. I personally enjoyed using Spectre Flechette or anything really that has a bit of spread. I mean, like, you can also use normal shotguns to do that, but I personally prefer using, for example, the Spectre Flechette, Terminus Flechette, Rival Flechette, you get the drill. Like, those things that can be used as shorty variants, because Flechette extends your range. Even if it sacrifices your one shot, that makes it a very powerful combination, together with the high damage of the sparks. And as I said, the increased stealth allows you to be much closer without the enemy instantly realizing their mistake. They will surely notice the fact that suddenly 90% of their health disappears, but it will still allow you to potentially get a quick pick on the enemy team by them not expecting such damage, especially with the lack of a loud sound, because most of the damaging guns like the Nitro, the Sparks Base or similar are very loud. So anything you should pay attention to. Yes, try to not go for headshots unless you're 100% sure. The extremely low muzzle velocity, especially with FMJ like I recommend, means that you have to have a very good feel of where to shoot. And if you don't have that, my suggestion is just go for a body tap. Like, yes, sure, the body tap does only the 133 damage, but 133 damage up to, let's say, 40 meters. It should be with the sparks, especially when using FMJ, still ensures that the enemy is low health. And as I said, you can just use poison to bridge the gap. Otherwise, just remember, the thing is pretty clunky, so you may not see things on your screen. So remember to be pretty vigilant of your surroundings. The just size of the sparks makes that hard at times. Otherwise, most of the stats remain the same, outside obviously damage, muzzle velocity, and drop range by base. I really recommend you trying out the silencer, especially if you like the basic sparks, but I don't blame you if you say that you want to keep the 149 damage, which roll-wise is better. Why do I not hate on the sparks silencer like I do with the 1865 carbine? Well, it's due to the fact that this thing is actually practical and not as clunky as the 1865. Anyway, let's move on to the next weapon. The next on the list is a weapon that I enjoyed way more than I thought I'd do. Hunt's Intervention, the Sparks Sniper. Big, clunky, but damn is it satisfying. The Sparks Sniper takes the Sparks ability to the maximum. The ability to inflict maximum pain and damage over longer range is just incomparable with any other gun. Yes, you have kings like the Mosin or the Bell, which do have higher velocity, easier to use nature due to their multiple shots, but the Sparks comes with such flexibility. The idea that you can poison an enemy in closer ranges, and the idea that you can just remove an enemy's health bar at any range really, especially when using FMJ if it comes down to it, is what makes the Spark Sniper so satisfying. That bang that you hear with each pull of the trigger, the result you see on the enemy by them scooting for the nearest piece of cover after being hit, is what makes the Spark Sniper so satisfying. I have collected way too many clips of me playing the Spark Sniper and had fun I never thought I could have. How do you play the Spark Sniper? That really depends on your loadout. Since it shares most of the stats with the base Spark Sniper except needing a different perk in the form of steady aim to steady the scope, the Spark Sniper obviously benefits the most from longer ranges due to the high zoom on its scope and the fact that the slow and clunky fire rate only really helped with fast fingers doesn't really benefit you in any situation. Although you can also run something like a self-defense secondary, like the aforementioned shotgun shorties, which is my usual way to run the thing, because I personally find that in 90% of cases I don't want to be using a pistol. Although, one should always look at how they play their secondaries. I'm somebody who is very aggressive / can play shotguns pretty well. I know how to close my distance, how to set up an ambush, how to peek my gaps. That's what I do. Some people may not feel the same way or not share the same strength, and that is completely fine. My advice in that case is experiment with your favorite pistol. See if you need something for closer range, potentially panicking, like the new army or Nagant, or look at if you need something with a bit more punch, like some of the medium ammo revolvers, for example the Schofield, or the packs, with the Schofield still having the ability to take the Spitfire, which is still a brilliant revolver. Then it comes with Dum Dum and a pretty high fire rate, especially for a medium ammo one. Sure, pistols like the Bornheim are on the table, although I'm always pretty cautious with those since, relatively speaking, the Bornheim has pretty hard recoil for its caliber standard, and of course also has the ability to just completely apeshit you because it takes a bit to reload due to the fact that your character has to put a new clip in, which is still faster than most revolvers, don't get me wrong, but the damage on it is pretty low, so you'll just have to see. Of course, if you're somebody who has saved up billions of hunt dollars, you could also try running a Dolch, for example, because of its flexibility and the fact that it can slap in close range and snipe at long range. Or you can just simply see if you potentially want to take Quartermaster and run either, as I already said, a shotgun, be it with slugs, flechette, or whatever custom ammo you crave, or, of course, a 2-slot rifle, like potentially a Vandal or a Seni Shorty. You really have so much flexibility when it comes to that, and you can really freely experiment. In itself, the Spark Sniper is just pretty nice to play, it's enjoyable, it's fun. I have a feeling that you really like it. Sure, some people may not like the scoped nature of it, but that's fine. I mean, the Sparks is great in that even in close range, the base variants especially benefit you. No matter if it's the pistol, the silencer, or, just a plain basic variant. The Spark Sniper is just great for those people who want to make something out of the sheer power of the Sparks, even at longer ranges, due to the addition of a scope. Anyway, in a nutshell, I still don't use FMJ, although you can. I still keep the poison in the first slot because you never know when you run into people, and I pretty much just focus a lot on quick scoping, and usually only hard scope when I'm pretty certain that an enemy is sitting still, and I really only do that due to the fact that I don't like being tunnel visioned. Hunt is a game of movement and knowledge, and lacking one of those aspects really puts you at a disadvantage. Hence why I recommend don't be the hard scoping bush Sparks, because you lack a silencer unlike the Maynard silencer, and because it really takes away from the potential you have and your ability to be effective in a gunfight. A lot of people in randoms, or even looking on the Hunt Discord server, do not like snipers. Some of them for valid reasons due to snipers' passive nature, or potentially the idea that snipers may extract without them, which can happen. Or the fact that they find that snipers are so reliant on precision that they can't participate in the fight. Well, some of those are understandable reasons, while others are mostly stereotypes. I hope at least. Anyway, my suggestion is try out the Sparks, but ideally play it in a team where you know your rules and you can rely and communicate when you need to step in potentially with your secondary. Otherwise, very, very valid gun. Anyway, have fun with it. Let's move on to the next gun. Next up on the list is the Pocket Sparks, the Sparks pistol. This thing plays mostly like the Sparks in the sense that I usually use the same ammo types as on the basic Sparks, poison and normal ammo, except that it has much higher recoil, is not as stable when it comes to aiming, and it obviously fills the secondary role. I personally don't like using the Sparks pistol too much since it doesn't have compatibility with fast fingers, and I personally feel that a pistol should have punch but also be flexible, no matter if it's a secondary to something like a shotgun, bow or similar, or if it's being run alongside a rifle that may actually have range, like for example a Lemmat Carabine or Vandal. I personally just use the thing when I feel like it, slash I want to say that, yeah, I want to do much damage and then, you know, push in with, for example, a shotgun. You can use this as a secondary whenever you want. You can use this as an ammo storage for your long ammo rifle. It really just depends on your preference. My advice is just don't be too aggressive with it. The high recoil, clunky animations and slow handling just simply don't make it a very good close range weapon. So I'd only really combine it with something that has close range, or at least take a penny shot Derringer in the loadout you're taking it in, so you can defend yourself. It has shortened range to I think 20 meters before damage drop off, and reduced ammo capacity while keeping the same damage. And obviously a lower muzzle velocity. Anyway, let's talk about the Sparks pistol silencer. The Sparks pistol silencer is the same thing, except that it's a pocket version of the Sparks silencer. I do not like this gun. The reason being that some people may say, oh yeah, it's a silenced Sparks but mini, and I say no. The problem is, the silenced Sparks already loses damage range. The Sparks pistol silencer has already worse range than the basic Sparks pistol, which already has notoriously bad range. While one could say, oh yeah, but I want it as a secondary and I want it silenced. Okay, I still wouldn't use the thing. The problem is, you play the Sparks pistol for its bite. And if it doesn't have bite, then it's just bark. And the problem with that is that bark doesn't really get you any kills. Like, yeah, you can shoot at people, miss half your shots. Yeah, great, you're still gonna bark. But if you don't bite them, they won't fear you. And that's the problem of the Sparks pistol silencer. The Sparks pistol silencer tries to fill the same role as the Sparks pistol, except it's worse at it. The only benefit you get is the enemy suddenly being scared by the damage they take in closer range. But the problem is, first of all, will you be able to maintain your stealth either way? Or wouldn't it just be better to rush in with whichever weapon you have? Because, for example, if you have a Winfield with levering, for example, you can rush in. If you have a Romero or shotguns, you can rush in. If you have any repeating rifle of a medium caliber, for example, you can rush in. There is simply not a lot of situations where the Sparks pistol silencer really benefits you, unless, for example, there's an enemy you want to poison in hopes that he runs away to heal. In that case, the Sparks pistol silencer may work. But if you say, I'm not very good with the Sparks, especially the pistol, I want a silenced option to not, stand out as much. Valid, but the problem is that the Sparks pistol is already a very clunky and cut down platform. So being even clunkier than that isn't really recommended. So I wouldn't use the silencer, but if you say it's something worth using for yourself, then try out the silencer. I'd say go with the normal Sparks pistol for the high damage and the shoot go away potential, but otherwise stay away. Anyway, if you have been watching till this point, I want to thank you. I want to thank all the viewers for making this work possible, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Today was a bit of a longer video, and I noticed that. The editing process gave me a lot of headaches because I wasn't unsure of how to handle the video. I personally hope it was still enjoyable, even if it's longer than my usual format. I usually try to keep my guides short and simple. This video was a bit more of a ranting session / long talk. My opinion on this is very split. I normally don't like making long videos because they're a pain in the ass to watch. I will put out a poll to see if my future community wants me to either A, change it so that I split it up into 2 parts, or B, keep the long format videos. I want to adjust to the community and their preferences. I want to make sure that if people say, oh, if a guide gets too long, please split up the 2 different categories, for example, pistols and rifles, or no, please keep them together. It's fine with it. But for example, put in timestamps or, it's completely fine. We like the content. Anything is fine for me, but I want to make sure that my community unanimously agrees with that. Have a nice day and vote in the polls. Your opinion could make the difference. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the bayou. Maybe you even get to kill me, or maybe I'll also see you.
He's back up.
Around the left, on the outside.
Yeah, the guys are back up.
Got him. I got the other guy though. I got the solo.